Hello, howdy my. Welcome to Real Talent Tips and Tales podcast, based in New Zealand. I aim to celebrate the diverse international film community behind many of the films and television shows we've loved over the years. The podcast is a spinoff of my book, The Real Deal Real Talent Tips and Tales. It aims to inform students and anyone interested in joining the screen industry by sharing career journeys, practical advice, behind the scenes stories, and lessons learned from people working across film and television. Today we're interviewing Gillie Coxill, who is Costumer and Soft Furnisher, who worked on Avatar and much more. Gillie, thanks for joining us today.
Thanks for inviting me. It's exciting.
I'm so glad that we
I've
could
never
finally.
done this before.
Yeah, well, this is new to me too, so here we go. I'm so happy that we can finally connect for this interview, and I'm looking forward to learning more about your stories and your career journey. Gillie has over 40 years of experience sewing and creating for theater, film, and television in both London and New Zealand. Some of the film and television projects she did work for over the years include Avatar, Wolfman, Time Bandits TV series, and Mirror Mirror TV series. She worked for the world-renowned Cosprops in London, who create historical costumes for Out of Africa, The Cotton Club, Young Sherlock, The French Lieutenant's Woman, and much more. I'm always curious, Gillie, about how people get into what they do in the industry. The journeys are so varied. I know you went to college in England where you studied textile design, then theater design, specializing in costume cutting and construction. But I think a lot of us start stepping on our career path at a young age without even knowing it. When you reflect on your youth, can you recognize that now? Do you see things that you used to do when you were younger that kind of showed that you might have a little passion for this?
Oh yeah, there was definitely pointers for sure. Yeah. Um, I used to make clothes for my dolls. Luckily, I had a distant relative who was a dressmaker, and she would from time to time send over scraps and snippets of fabric, and I'd make something from dolls. And when that wasn't available, I, much to my mum's annoyance, drag all the towels out of the airing cupboard to drape myself. Yeah.
Oh, wow, that's so funny. So you were pretty young when you started doing that.
Yeah.
Yeah, I remember doing things too when I was younger, creating little props for my Barbie dolls and such. It's interesting how you might not realize it, but you do sort of step on these trails even though they might
Yes.
deviate.
Yes. And I used to beg my mum to set up her sewing machine, which was awful now when I look back. Oh my God, it was real clunky, and the bobbin used to get all knotted up. I was very much into ballet, and I used to fantasize that I was making costumes for Nureyev or something like that.
So you went to school like we talked about. And
Hmm.
then when you got out of college, one of your first jobs was working for Cosprops. How did you land that gig? And what was it
Well,
like working for them?
yeah, as it happens, as part of the course, all students were expected to go and do work experience somewhere.
Hmm.
I was lucky, I don't quite remember the connection, but one of the tutors had been requested a student who was doing costume to go and work on a community theatre play down in Devon. Lucky me, so I went to live in Devon for a couple of months and worked on a piece called The Tide, written by Angelico, which was set roughly about 1815, something like that.
Hmm.
And there I met the costume designer Jane Price and stayed with her for quite a while. She was still living on a farm at the time, and I was living in a barn that had been the converted pigsty. It was just lovely place, this really lovely 17th century farmhouse,
Hmm.
cobbled yard, and beautiful place because she was a master printer and dyer, and it was great working with her. And
So you started there, and then that was
I,
your
I
connection to
started on
Cosprops.
this community play, and then at that time the shoot had started for a French lieutenant woman
Hmm.
not far away, and one of the girls who was on our costume crew for the community play,
Uh-huh.
jumped ship and went to work on that. And she said that she had heard that Cosprop, who did the costumes for that, were actually seeking people to hire. And so I wrote and sent them some terrible photos. When I look back now, the things that I produced were so very basic. Being a student, I had no money, so had to make things out of lining fabric. But I
Mm,
guess the owner and director of Cosprop, John Bright, must have recognized that actually this girl at least has a passion to try and make things. I was so lucky that I got the job with them.
that's so cool. There's a picture here of Meryl Streep wearing one of
Yeah.
the suit dresses that you got to work on. I wonder how much of it were you led by the lead designer in this case? Did you get to partake in any of the historical research when you were working on a garment?
Well, the way that they work at Cosprop is that the designers would be employed, like anywhere else, by the production team, and they
Hmm.
would discuss the details with John
Yeah.
as to the fabrics and the trimmings. And then once it was decided upon, the work was dished out by John to the different people in the main workroom, and you were given the measurements and the design and the fabric, and were expected to produce this garment ready for fitting and then to completion, which is
Hmm.
so different from how everyone else works.
So
And
did
so,
you come up with the pattern then too?
yes,
Oh wow.
they did have a lot of stock patterns, but it was a case of working out from there. I just think that was so lucky because so many other costumers at the time, and now even in the film industry, will have your designer and their assistants. You'll have a chief cutter and assistant cutters. You don't get to cut or construct much because then once it's cut, they have a like a whole army. It's like a factory working room where the sewers will put these pieces together, um, which is a fantastic skill to read what you've been given
Hmm.
and imagine what it's going to be like 3D.
Yeah, that's pretty cool. So this one here that we're looking at now is a
Yeah,
dress from the Cotton Club, which I love
that's
this
right.
time era, like flapper dancers and all of
Yeah,
that. And I
yeah.
thought this was beautiful, and it actually shows that I thought maybe you could speak about this. It looks like it was all hand done dyeing and silk screening for this particular dress.
Yes. It was the underneath there is like a long chemise petticoat with the fine silk dress over the top, which had been stamp printed, as I recall.
Oh, cool. Yeah.
By I think the assistant designer, his name was Johan, South African chap, and a bit of sort of bead working down the front as well. I wasn't
Yeah.
exactly left to myself to just come up with something. He gave me a guideline, and then it was like, right, I'll see what we can do.
Hmm. It's quite beautiful. It's lovely. And then there's a dress there from Wagner.
Yes, and that was a lovely thing to work on, because of the date that it was. That in reality was when they discovered aniline dyes, and so the colours were much stronger. The, we joke about Cosprop colours being like Cosprop smudge. In other words, everything was white down and browns and greens because at the time of before like the 1860s, 70s, there was only natural dyes which produced those softer organic colours.
Yeah, the natural dyes
As
were
soon as
softer.
they discovered something stronger,
Hmm.
like the world went crazy with colour. And so that was lovely to work on that purple. So
Okay, so that was around the time they found that they could create these more potent dyes, and
yes, yeah.
so it in turn influenced the fashion of the time.
Yes, that's right. And Cosprop is very still to my knowledge, true to the era that they are portraying. They wanted not to create theatrical costume, more clothing that were correct. So it was the right colour and look of the era that it is portrayed.
Yeah, I think you even mentioned to me before when we were discussing it that even the way it was put together, sewn was appropriate to the time period. Is that true?
Mm. We could machine like hand sewing machine quite a lot, but the finishing we never used overlockers. That just was wrong. So we
Mm.
have to find another way of finishing seams. So that if a garment was taken off on screen, which happens, and you see the inside's got to look right.
Oh, you'd want that when you're looking on the inside of a jacket
Yeah,
if someone's
yeah.
walking, things like that, wouldn't you?
Mm.
And you certainly can tell the difference. It's So we have another dress here, and I was kind of curious. This is from the BBC's version of Jane Eyre, and next to it is some fabric samples. So I was kind of curious how much of the process working there did you get to pick out fabrics and colorways, or was that something that was provided for you? How did that?
That was already discussed ages in advance before the Naples got anything. So,
Okay, so they would give you the colors, the fabrics, and the design, then you would come up with the pattern and the sizing and the sewing and all of that part of it.
yeah, you get it to like a first fitting stage where it was together enough for the actor or actress to put it on. Then they would discuss the trimmings or any special treatment that it needed at that stage.
Oh, it's interesting. It's interesting for people that are studying costume design, that are thinking about getting into film, to
Mm.
understand that there really is a pipeline, isn't there? It's not like they go in and they're designing the dress and doing the whole thing from A to B. I mean, you might do that in theater or in maybe some smaller films, but generally the bigger productions, there is a whole, like you were starting to talk about before, there's nowadays there's the sewers and there's the dyers and there's the sort of separate teams working on these things, aren't, isn't there?
Yeah, there's a whole chain of events before the garment is completed. And it all has to be discussed and worked out because, as so much in life, the budget has got to be kept to.
Right.
You can't sort of go, no, we don't like it in green, we're going to do it in blue, start all over again.
Hmm. So they kind of have to have a clear vision of where they're going
Yes,
with it, don't they?
yes, yeah.
Well, I think overall you seem to light up when reflecting on the time at Cosprops. I
I was so
wonder,
lucky to work there.
that's so cool. Was there a particular project that you found enjoyable, or was there something that you found particularly challenging working there?
Um, well, on the whole, it was all, every project was different and there was opportunity to learn because
Mhm.
although they had stock patterns and there's a particular look about Cosprop, if I watch something, oh, I know that that's their work.
Uh-huh.
But
You're saying they did, was it Merchant Ivory? Ivory Merchant has,
yes, yeah, they
yeah,
did
one
rooms
with
of
the
war.
view and yeah.
I believe they did Enchanted April as well. And they also, more modern times, did a lot of Downton Abbey and Wolfman. Mm.
I heard they might have even done some work for Game of Thrones.
Oh yeah, that's likely as well because when I was working there, the parameter of their work was between 1600 and 1945. But I think they've stretched out in either direction.
Uh-huh. So from there, you moved into children's theater and other theater work, didn't you? That would have been
Mm.
quite a shift.
It certainly was. We're looking at Madagascar here.
That's
The
a crazy
central,
outfit.
that wonderful creature is a mythological thing called a loon that lives in Madagascar in their folklore.
Uh-huh.
This was like an all over cotton bodysuit, which was dyed a nice tan brown. And then they didn't want it to be furry, they wanted it to be straw like. So all of the straw and the raffia was dyed and then cut to length, knotted, and then the knot was stuck onto the bodysuit by glue gun. And when the
A
design
glue gun,
actually
that would have
appeared
been a
on,
big change, yeah.
oh my God, it was like, what are you doing? Because everything till then, all my work was either slowly done on sewing machines or hand sewn. So
Right.
to being presented with a glue gun, it just about blew me mind. It
It
was
opens up
different.
a whole new world, doesn't
It
it?
really did. At first, I was like, "Oh no," but this was a very successful anecdote. It was lovely because as the actress moved, the whole thing seemed to undulate like a wheat beard in the wind. You know, it's lovely.
Oh, yeah,
It
that's
really
amazing.
worked.
And I know that you've done some other theater too, and in that you worked
Yeah.
on pantomime. Here's a beautiful picture that you shared of a pantomime that you worked on creating costumes for. And I wonder, in the United States where I'm originally from, we never had pantomimes. Not that I know of. I've never even heard of them until I moved to New Zealand. And I worked on some pantomime for some theater doing the backdrops. And I think it's pretty common in England too, isn't it? That's where it
Yeah,
comes from.
yeah.
Can you maybe tell people what a pantomime is and what kind of work you did on this?
Oh, pantomime is a thing unto itself, and it's usually quite bawdy humour and a bit slapsticky. It's meant to be accessible for children and adults. So some of the jokes might hopefully go over children's heads, but the adults will enjoy it.
Hmm.
It's been going on for a long time, hundreds of years, and it's one of those weird things where usually the principal boy is played by a girl. Yeah, this is the Theatre Royal, Stratford East. And Stratford East is in the East End of London.
Uh-huh.
And it's a very old theatre. I think it was built in something like 1870s. They've been having a panto on there for a very long time. And
Hmm.
this picture is actually part of the staff panto, which used to take part after the professionals had finished their last night. And we would do our version of it with some of the actors for charity.
Uh-huh.
Yeah, so there's me on farm there,
Oh, that's so fun.
being a merry man.
A merry man. That's great.
So it must have been Robin Hood, I suppose. Yeah,
So for this you help create the costumes
yeah.
and the theater's quite collaborative, isn't it? Like when you work on a theater project, like you're saying you're stepping in now to do the charity night and the staff is involved. And I found that the theater work that I've done, you do feel like you're quite immersed in the whole thing.
Mm.
It's a little bit different than in a film where you're sort of removed from a lot of it, right?
Yes, that's right. Yeah.
Yeah.
And the nature of the theatre is that you can stand by in the rooms and be just a few steps from actually being in front of an audience, and
Hmm.
you watch all that goes on. I've been fortunate to do dressing on quite a few of their productions, and you do get a feel of the audience. Theatre is a very different thing, and you can see that the mother is actually played by a guy here.
Yeah, that's pretty typical, isn't it?
In the room,
The
yes,
main female role is a guy.
yeah,
Yeah, that's pretty funny. And they quite often are based on fairy tales, right? Or
yes.
yeah. So along the way, a lot of us have to deviate and you do all sorts of things, don't you? Can you tell us a little bit about the pictures that we're looking at now? It looks like it's costuming for is it a dance company?
It was for the London School of Samba, which is
Oh,
still
cool.
going. I got involved because some friends of mine used to um, go and dance with them, learn to do different samba dances and whatnot. And they did need someone to design and make the costumes. So the photo on the left, I'm sitting outside my house, which was in North London. Actually, the Arsenal football ground was just at the end of our garden.
Wow.
Oh, it was horrible when they were playing at home. Oh, my God.
Yeah, I bet it was insane.
It was insane.
Mhm.
So there you see the king and queen costume.
So here are a couple more pictures of some of the costuming you did for the London School of Samba. And may I add, girlfriend, you are looking fine. What's going on
Oh my
here?
God. I'm looking cold and wet, that's for sure.
Yeah.
Um, that was the wettest, coldest carnival for a very long time. This was 1986, and the band, the group was called London School of Samba, and in Brazil, it's a very different kind of way. They process through like a stadium,
Uh-huh.
um, where people are static and watch the different groups go through. And each group from different areas has a theme or a story and a song that everyone is required to learn that tells the story of the costumes and the procession.
Mhm.
And I still to this day don't have any Portuguese, which is the language of Brazil. So I
Uh-huh.
had to learn it completely parrot passion from beginning to end. And if someone wanted me to start in the middle, no way. I mean, I just was lost. But I was thinking about it last night. The only word I can remember in Portuguese is rigolajo, which means caterpillar.
Caterpillar, wow. And why is
Caterpillar.
that? It's a good
Because
word.
the story we were telling was about Alice in Wonderland. And
Mhm.
in that, there is a scene where there's a large, I believe, a large caterpillar sitting on a mushroom smoking a pipe. So, yeah, there you go. So,
So
yeah.
where are you? Where is this carnival taking place?
This is in Notting Hill in London,
Hmm.
whereas it winds a really long route through the streets of Notting Hill and the area. It can take many hours for the entire procession to go through. And basically, every group or band, as they call them, on the road in the procession is
Hmm.
given a link up point and time where you can join the procession to go through all this long, snaking progress through the streets. On that particular wet day, we did it in an hour and 40 minutes. We were just about running through.
Oh my goodness. Yeah, I
It was
bet.
so horrible. Yeah.
But it looks
Anyway,
like they're having fun still.
oh, you still have to have a bit of fun, even though you're soggy and cold.
That's awesome. So then eventually you ended up moving to New Zealand, didn't you?
Yes.
And so can you tell us a little bit what you did when you first got here?
I was very fortunate to arrive at the right time and the right place and all of that.
Hmm.
I went for what I later found out was an interview at Downstage Theatre, as it used to be called.
Hmm.
I thought it was just um, a sort of hello, how are you type of meeting with a bunch of people.
Hmm.
And there must have been about 8 of the staff in the office with me, talking about costuming and this and that. And then, to my huge surprise, the artistic director said, "So when can you start?" What? I didn't even know I was going for a job.
Oh wow. Yeah.
So I came back probably about 4 or 5 months later to take up my job as being head of costume at Downstage at that time. Yeah. I worked at Downstage for maybe 3 years
Hmm.
and then thought I want to do freelance work. I was very lucky to get some work on The Hobbit,
Hmm.
which was about to shoot it. And I was one of a bunch of people brought in for a specific task rather than just general. And our job was to make pony suits. And what? What's that? Well, the director, Sir Peter Jackson, had seen some, I believe they were Icelandic ponies, and
Uh-huh.
really loved the look of them with their shaggy fur and the look of all like the furriness and the height and the size of them was good for the scale of the Hobbit people who were going to ride them.
Uh-huh.
But it was the wrong time of year to get shaggy, hairy horses and ponies. So oversuits needed to be made that were very form fitting to the animals,
Mhm.
that had on extra fur and extra manes and
Yeah, I
all.
remember those suits.
Yeah, and the horses wore them. I don't know if they were very impressed, and I think they found them perhaps a bit itchy or something. So I decided to give them onesie underwear, which were
Oh,
really good.
funny. Wow, that's a whole other thing.
I know.
So they kind of had an undersuit and then this on top of it, right?
Yes, yeah,
Yeah.
which made it easier for them
Yeah.
to wear. Yeah.
And they did pretty well in that. They had room to move and be
Oh
somewhat
well,
be happy in.
well, they were made for the each individual horse, as you would for an individual actor. It had
Yeah.
to fit properly so that it wouldn't be gold baggy around the ankles or anything
Yeah,
like
yeah.
that.
Custom tailored for the
It
horses
had
so
to be
they look
sort of
like
zipped
ponies.
into these things. Yeah.
Wow, that's quite
Um,
incredible. There's a lot of work that went into The Hobbit. I know
amazing.
I was on
Amazing.
that show too, and I know a lot of the soft furnishings that came out of your department came to us to do what we call breaking it down, where
Mm,
we would have to age it. And
mm,
it was like things like the blankets, right? A lot of people don't think about that. So many things were made just for this show.
yes.
And I know that some of the blankets were hand woven and they were hand woven to different scales. So you might have a smaller
Yes.
scale blanket and then a larger scale blanket. So that affected the way it was stitched and everything as well, didn't it?
Yes, that's right, to keep it all true to scale. And
Hmm.
another example is that some particular pieces needed to be knitted. And
Hmm.
there's a group of ladies knitting, and they would kind of create the pattern as they went along. And they would knit in one scale and then pick up larger needles and a larger ply, a thicker ply of yarn to
Hmm.
knit the next scale. And one day I was there, got a big surprise, and it looked to me like they were knitting on um, broom handles. It was such a large scale by that point,
Oh my gosh.
because I think they had to do, oh, quite a few, maybe 3 or 4 different size variations. Yeah,
Mhm.
great fun. I would like to have been one of the knitters, but unfortunately I wasn't.
Yeah,
Mm.
yeah. Yes,
Yeah,
just a tremendous undertaking on so many in so many aspects of the film, wasn't it? Especially when you did look at things like the duplicates that were made for stunt and then for scale. And what people might not understand is that it was like two films being shot almost, wasn't it? So they
yeah,
even some of the sets were two different scales, like the Hobbit hole. So the one that was the interior that was shot at Stone Street, there was a smaller scale and a larger scale set. So that like for instance, when the larger scale set would make the dwarfs look smaller when they were in it. And then
yes,
the smaller set, if Gandalf went in there and they shot him in there, he would have to hunch so that
yes,
his
and bash
head
his head on things. Yes,
yeah, so that he wouldn't hit his head. And I
yeah,
worked on some of those in the beginning and I kept hitting my head on stuff. But yeah, so that's just an example. And so that kind of went across the board for everything. Some of the, the weapons and the things like Gandalf's staff, but a lot of the soft furnishings, which it was so impressive to see that was thought about so carefully down to the stitch size and like you're
yes,
saying, the yarn and different things like that. It was
yes. And if sorry to interrupt, but if you look on the horse pictures, they've all got different blankets and
uh
packages and bedrolls and stuff, and all of that would have been replicated maybe 3 times.
Right. Yeah, because
Yeah.
then they had extras too, because they were going through
Mm,
water and different things that they needed for standby props would need, wouldn't they? For
yes.
if
Yeah.
something got ruined or if it got wet, they would be able to replace it for the next thing. So that and everything had to look identical. I know even there was the scale thing, but then you had duplicates on top of that. And
Mm,
everything had to be dyed, you know, um, perfectly so that it matched. It had every little damaged mark on it. If there was a stain, the stain had to look the same on the other one. Things like that. That again you might not think about or even notice in the film, but if you did notice it, you would want it to be correct. You know what I mean? Like,
exactly right. Otherwise, it totally blows the whole illusion, doesn't it?
yeah, yeah. The continuity was really important. So that was quite a tremendous thing for you to step in to right away. And I know
It was
another
great. Yeah, I was so lucky to get that work. Yeah.
Yeah.
Mm.
And then another project that you were a part of, and I was too, it was neat to be able to see what you guys were up to in the soft furnishings. I kind of worked a lot with you actually, as on some of the avatar elements, which again, people probably don't think about. So yeah, there was a lot of digital work done, but there was the immediate environments were made for the
Yes,
actors to sort of that were in their blue suits or whatever to interact with, and then there was also human versions of people too, like whatever I'm trying to say,
yes,
that
yes.
wasn't, an avatar. And so there was a lot of the things that were made like mats, etc. Can you speak to this a little bit?
Well, when people think of Avatar, you automatically think of it as computer generated imagery.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe, it's easy to forget that actually we've got to drop these people and these images into an environment.
Uh-huh.
And some of that computer work had already been done by the time we started.
Mm-hmm.
So things had to be exactly to the right size and scale and in the right place. So that
Mm-hmm.
when they dropped in the computer images, it didn't look like someone was walking straight through a table. That's just a very bad example. Do you know what I
Yeah.
mean? So they've got to match and tile on top of each other.
Yeah, that's a whole nother dimension that was kind of new for all the Avatar things, wasn't it? Because quite often in historically the digital work would be sort of after or during a shoot, not before, and then the live action is being shot to match what was already
Yes.
sort of set. So this was kind of hitting it from a different angle. It was quite interesting to work on something like that.
Yes, it was very different.
And so some of the things that you might have done for them would be.
The first job on Avatar was for what came to be called the Bio Lab, although I don't know if that's what it's referred to in the film as, which
Yeah.
is kind of a laboratory on another planet that's a permanent fixture where I believe they held one of the humans in a sort of suspended animation in that
Hmm.
laboratory. And that was all created to look like it was under a lot of pressure and it was inflated like a balloon kind of thing.
Hmm.
So the walls were created with convex and convex and what's the other one? Concave structure to it.
Hmm.
And the designer wanted a particular silver material to be used for this interior.
Oh, I remember that stuff. I had
It
to
was
color some.
fiberglass
Yeah,
fabric.
yeah.
Yeah, so
I had to color some of that up too.
yeah, a lot of time, many months were spent, or many weeks rather, spent working out how to work with this fabric, what
Hmm.
we could glue it with, does it need backing? Can we just sew it as it was? It was a long time to get that right and to get the pattern and shapes right for the different surfaces of this interior.
Hmm.
Yeah. And so that was the first job I did. And then after that came the next film, um, where these creatures are living near the beach and they lived in a kind of, well, a dwelling that's kind of looks part shed, part yurt, where it's massive
Hmm.
semicircular support struts, which were metal that had to be disguised with bamboo and matting and flax and that kind of thing to make it
Hmm.
very much more organic and natural. But of course, it had to be sturdy and built in steel so that it would withstand being moved from one studio to another and
Hmm.
then eventually to an open space where we could burn it. Mm.
Yeah, I remember that, the burning of it. You had to go to a burn site. That
Yes,
was
and
quite.
it's very hard to find big enough and enough open spaces in Wellington area.
Yeah, yeah. That was.
In the end, we ended up at the industrial tip. Amazing, yes, the amount of effort and work that goes into things. for
Yeah.
it to get burnt.
Yeah.
They
Yeah. And
wouldn't
that,
realise, but the burning effects have got to be just right and recorded so they can digitize those as well.
yeah, that was pretty neat. So one of the last projects that I worked with you on was Time Bandits, the TV series, which
Yes.
with Taika directed some of that and was in it. Which
Mm.
a lot of people know who Taika is, and also Jermaine, his longtime friend and co-writer.
Yes.
So is quite a fun series as far as the look of it goes because they went through different time periods, didn't they? And
Mhm.
so the soft furnishings department was pretty busy. You're a small team just kicking stuff out. And
Yes.
I took some screenshots here from a trailer showing some of the work behind that you can see that you've done. Can you talk a little bit about this?
Yes. Well, this gentleman on the throne, I can't remember the character's name. You can see that he's very.
He was like the richest man ever, Mansa something or
Uh,
other, I can't remember.
oh,
Yeah.
you live with these names for weeks and months, and then afterwards, there's no
I
space,
know
and
I'm
they have to
horrible at
go.
names. It just kind of
But
escaped
he's
me.
in this throne room, I suppose, in his tent,
Yeah.
and which was created by swagged canvas, which was embellished with silk. You never know what designers or production designers want to reuse or to create a look. And it could be that you have to make a fabric using a regular fabric, ironed onto violin, and then painted and covered with something else, painted or broken down again.
Yeah.
Sometimes wall furnishings can be 3 layers thick, and you wouldn't know it, but you need it to so that you can show aging and distress, and if
Mhm.
place has to look moldy and stuff, it has to be all built in. But for this rich gentleman, it was lovely silks and lots of carpeting and the cushions and. Mm.
Yeah, so all of that was custom made. You spoke a little bit about the background on the scene. That was quite interesting, how your tents.
Oh, right. So this set was in one of the studios where the back wall was a curved wall of lots and lots of screens, and which an image could be not projected onto. That's the wrong word. The computer guys could bring up backgrounds,
Hmm.
literally though.
Hmm. It was incredible, wasn't it?
Amazing, because I watched them
Yeah.
change it.
It was incredible to walk on a set like that because
Yeah.
I think typically that would be added later, right? The backgrounds would be blue screen or something instead of that. But in this case, we got to work on these sets that it
Yeah,
would be
so
the surrounding screen. I forget what they
yes,
call it, but it was actually an illusion in a way. It was yeah,
it was
the
amazing because it
lighting and
looked.
everything was accurate. And then what you would do with the tent had to merge with that. So the color had to be appropriate. It
Yes.
was this whole marrying of the background screens with the objects that were in front of it. And I know that we had another set which was in a frozen prehistoric kind of thing that there was tents made out of skins and stuff, and that was all
Yes.
snow, and the
Yeah.
background was vast as well. That was so
Yes.
cool to walk onto those.
Yeah. Yeah. With this, it made the depth of the set look many hundreds of meters
Hmm.
further on, and there was some sand dunes created. The floor was made undulating, which sand was poured onto, so
Hmm.
that while these people walk through it, it's obvious not just a studio floor. They are walking through sand to
Right.
give the impression that yes, they've just walked across the desert.
Hmm.
Yeah.
Wow, it's pretty neat.
Mm.
Fun stuff.
Yeah.
So, in closing, do you have any tips for folks wanting to get into costume or soft furnishings departments? For example, many people say that taking courses in costume design can be quite beneficial. What are your thoughts on this?
I think that personally, I don't see any harm in that. I did one years ago, and
Mhm.
that's don't see that as the be all and end all. And the next step is designing for something. You have to work your way up slowly
Mhm.
and get as much experience as you can of making and assisting other people. I
Mhm.
did lots and lots of volunteering, like the costumes for Notting Hill, for example, not just for the School of Samba, but for some Trinidadian groups as well. It was all voluntary.
Mhm.
When I was studying college, I also did a lot of amateur dramatic work, just trying to get a vast um, experience, different styles, different eras,
Mhm.
and I be open to someone saying, "Oh, well, I happened to hear someone was looking for someone to be the launderer, for example, or a dye assistant."
Mhm.
Well, go for it. You don't know where it's going to lead you. Don't be
Yeah, you can't
right.
necessarily be
Go.
really specific because you might close some doors that can open up to
That's right.
something.
Start
That's
at the
right.
bottom and be prepared to work up.
Right. And there's theater people can do, like you said, there was dance companies that
Yeah.
people can look to volunteer for. There's
Mm,
short films, where there's limited budgets that
yes.
people can get involved with, and you end up meeting a lot of other people that are like-minded and on their journeys as well.
Well, not only that, you're learning the etiquette of these different um, styles because they all have their own sort of hierarchy or etiquette to
Uh-huh.
on set or on stage or what have you. It's good to know when to speak, when to just stay in the background and just get a feel for when someone actually does need some help right now and be that person on the spot. Mm.
Yeah, that's good advice. Well, gosh, I appreciate you sharing a bit about your career journey with us today and your tips. And to
Well, I hope
all
it's helpful. Yeah.
I'm sure it would be. It's fun to hear too. I think even just hearing the different journeys for people can be encouraging because there's so many different ways that people got into what they end up doing so that it just opens up people's minds to thinking it's not doesn't have to be a set way, just like we were talking about. It's
Mm.
hearing the different journeys of the different people and what kind of drove you to get into what you got into. So I don't know, I really appreciate you sharing. And thanks to all of you listening. Please check out my website, therealdealcrew.com, for book and other news, and subscribe so you can hear more fabulous podcasts. Until next time, keep on keeping on. Thanks. Bye.
Bye.